welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's as highly creative as it is intensely practical. The exact steps, the real costs, and the actual real-world rewards of becoming a professional illustrator. So, if you've ever thought about turning your passion for art into a solid, paying profession, well, you're exactly where you need to be. Let's kick things off with a question that, honestly, almost every creative mind wrestles with while staring at a blank sketchbook. Can your doodles actually become a sustainable career? It's a totally fair question, right? We always hear that whole starving artist cliché, but out there in the commercial world, illustration is a massive industry with very structured pathways. To see how that works, we really need to look at what an illustrator actually does. Because, by definition, they do so much more than just draw beautifully. They're really visual communicators. They take abstract concepts or a client's brief and transform them into highly targeted visual messages. It's a super diverse commercial skill set, literally touching everything from ad campaigns and product packaging to your favorite books, magazines, and newspapers. All right, let's just dive right into the roadmap. Here's exactly what we're covering today. First, the illustrator profile. Second, your educational pathway. Third, the financial equation. Fourth, entering the working world. And finally, real-world career growth.
Starting right off with Section 1, the illustrator profile. Do you have what it takes?
Think of this like your own personal checklist to see if you've got the foundational traits for the field. Obviously, having a deep interest in drawing and a creative mindset, that's your baseline, right? But take a close look at those bottom 2 points. You absolutely must be detail-oriented, and surprisingly enough, you need excellent communication skills. Why? Well, because you aren't just drawing for yourself anymore. You're going to be constantly communicating with art directors, marketing teams, and authors to make sure your artwork perfectly hits the nail on the head for their intended message.
Moving right along to Section 2, your educational pathway, from high school to fine arts.
You know what's really surprising about this academic journey? It's actually incredibly straightforward. You don't need to be locked into an arts track from day one. Look at Step 1, you can jump into this from absolutely any stream in your 10+2 education. Step 2 is where you complete a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, a BFA, in a related field like cartooning or general illustration. And then there's Step 3, which is an entirely optional Master of Fine Arts degree if you decide you really want to specialize even further. And when it comes time to choose where to get that fine arts degree, you really aren't boxed in. You could aim for prestigious government institutes. Think places like NIFT New Delhi or Jamia Millia Islamia. If you're leaning towards the private route, there are great academies like Pearl, Zika Studios, or the Indian Institute of Cartoonists. And, this is important, if you need some flexibility, there are really robust distance learning options through institutions like IGNO. The Department of Fine Arts is everywhere, giving you a ton of choices depending on where you are and what you need.
Okay, let's talk numbers. In Section 3, the financial equation, investments and returns.
Let's see how all this builds into the actual, critical financial realities of the career. The data we pulled directly from our source lays out a pretty stark contrast between what you'll need to invest up front versus what you can realistically expect to earn once you're out there in the workforce.
The big takeaway here is that your initial educational investment can vary wildly. Seriously, we're looking at a range from as low as 6,000 rupees to nearly 240,000 rupees. That is a massive 40 times variance. And it depends entirely on whether you land a highly subsidized government program or if you opt for a premium private academy. Now, if that upper number has you a little stressed, don't worry. There are some incredibly robust funding avenues designed specifically to help students out. You can tap into the National Scholarship Portal for all sorts of central and state schemes. Plus, a lot of institutes offer their own merit-based scholarships. If you're looking at loans, there's the Vidya Lakshmi Portal, which was developed right under government guidance. Also, definitely keep an eye out for state-specific student credit cards. Places like West Bengal, Odisha, and Bihar offer these with exceptionally low interest rates. And of course, standard education loans are widely available from all the major banks. So, what about the return on that investment? Once you graduate and actually step into the professional arena, the data points to an approximate starting monthly salary ranging from about 13,000 to 65,500 rupees. But remember, that's just your starting point. Your earning potential scales up rapidly as you build a stronger portfolio and really make a name for yourself in the industry. Which brings us nicely to Section 4, entering the working world. Where are you actually going to set up your drawing board?
So you've got the degree in hand, the finances are sorted out, now it's time to look at the incredibly diverse environments and sectors that actively seek out and hire illustration talent. Your skills are going to be needed in a whole variety of dynamic workplaces.
You basically have two distinct paths when you enter the workforce. On one hand, you can join established agencies and companies. We're talking the arts and design sector, advertising and marketing agencies, publishing houses, or web design and animation companies. On the other hand, there's entrepreneurship. You can set up your very own independent business or take up freelance projects. That gives you ultimate control over the clients you take on and the hours you work.
Regardless of which path you choose, let's get real about the day-to-day. You'll typically be working in a creative office or a studio setup. And, as you might guess from the giant cups of coffee and the ticking clocks that usually define these spaces, it is a fast-paced world. Contractual jobs are super common, and you absolutely must be able to hit tight deadlines, which, yes, sometimes means long hours. But on a really positive note, this is a highly accessible field. It offers incredible opportunities for differently abled individuals to truly thrive, based purely on the merit of their creative output. Once you're actually in the door, the expected corporate growth path is pretty direct. Usually, you'll start at step 1 as a junior illustrator or an illustrator assistant. That's where you learn the ropes and support larger projects. Then, as your speed, your style, and your reliability prove themselves, you graduate to step 2, becoming a full-fledged illustrator leading your own projects.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Real-World Career Growth, featuring the Abhishek Singh example. To bring all these facts and numbers to life, let's look at a concrete, highly inspiring example right from the field. Abhishek Singh followed the exact educational pathway we just talked about. He's an artist, graphic novelist, and animation film designer who honed his craft by studying animation film design at the National Institute of Design, NID, in Ahmedabad, which is one of the premier government institutes.
And his career brilliantly illustrates exactly where this structured roadmap can lead. Building on that solid foundation, Singh has gone on to work on major animation projects with Cartoon Network. He's worked on a series for Virgin Comics and UTV, collaborating with absolute legends like Shekhar Kapoor and Deepak Chopra. It perfectly demonstrates how mastering the fundamentals in a structured way can open doors to world-class collaborations.
So we've mapped out the personality traits, the academic steps, the financial realities, and the incredible career possibilities. The structure is there, the funding is totally available, and the industry is hungry for new talent. Knowing all of that, the only question left is, are you ready to pick up the pen and draw your own professional journey? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep creating.